Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4382-400-640. This is a single-acting 4x4 spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube-bearing, steel base, satin bronze plated, oil rubbed bronze plated spring hinge. So let's dissect that. The LB part of the part number means lube bearing. That's a maintenance-free sort of bearing construction used on their spring hinges. The 4382 specifically stands for the hinge compatibility with the door type being a manufacturer called General Products. And that specifically is a combination of the size, of the treatment to the corners, and the location of the screw holes. This is 4x4. Let's go over that real quick. On a hinge like this, it's 4 inch tall. Height is first and 4 inch wide. Okay. The link below this video to template shows everything important dimensionally about the hinge, specifically where the screws are located. So you're going to want to verify what you're working with in terms of requirements before you go about ordering this hinge and making sure that it's going to fit your door. Then the 5/8 radius, that would be typical for this type of door, the General Products door. So all three of those things conspire to make this possibly the proper hinge for you. The 400 means 4x4. It's 4 inch tall, 4 inch wide, like we said. The 640 specifically means that it's a steel-based hinge with an oil rub bronze finish. Okay. Screws are included in a complementary finish. All wood, all metal screws. This is a residential leaf, which it's called out in the description, meaning that the leaf thickness is 96 thousandths, okay, which is typical for residential doors and frames. It's a spring hinge, and it's non-handed. It can work for either left-hand doors or for right-hand doors. Okay. Now, let's talk about the spring hinge. You're going to get with this a tension rod, which is that black piece of steel. Then you're going to get the tension pin, which is the little silver piece of steel there. Now, how this works is you install the hinge such that the tension collar is towards the top. You insert the tension rod into one of the holes that you can see in there, and you rotate it clockwise. As you do that, you reveal additional holes, and it's into one of those additional holes that you insert the tension pin. Up to three holes, no more for setting the tension on that is recommended by Bommer. Okay, providing you the ability to have the door close behind you. Doors are going to use this very commonly. Attached garages and homes where it's a fire-rated door. Fire-rated doors need to be self-closing and self-latching for that matter. Spring hinge like this would comply with that. Installations where you just want the door to close behind you. You might have a General Products door and frame on the back of your house, and you live in Florida, the air conditioning's on 25 hours a day, 25 out of 24 hours a day, and you want the door to close behind you. That's the bottom line. Wherever you need a spring hinge that meets this criteria, it's for you. Available in different architectural finishes. This is again the oil rub bronze. Now, in terms of spring hinges, there's a chart below this video that says you're dealing with doors up to 3070, 3 foot by 7 foot. That's understood. Larger than that, spring hinges really aren't the right piece of hardware to make it self-closing. An 85-pound door, 2 spring hinges, and a regular hinge. A 110-pound door, or more than that, 3 spring hinges. You can mix and match this with regular hinges because the axis of pivoting is compatible with a standard regular butt hinge. Now, in terms of the quantity, I have adjusted spring hinges, I have installed spring hinges, I have serviced them countless times. I have found greater success when I've got all spring hinges, every single chance I get. The reasoning is in my experience, you get greater success at closing the door behind you, and you've got more springs doing the job. If you've got one when you need two, or two when you need three, or one when you need three, the stored energy at the closing part of the cycle of the door is so spent that there's not enough to get it to overcome the friction of the latch bolt to actually latch the door. And if it's a fire-rated door, it has to be self-closing and self-latching. Those are two requirements. If you're underpowered in the spring, what happens is people turn up the tension a lot. Well, that causes potential for it to break, which is unusual, but it can happen, and it has happened. Or you've got to get the door moving so quick in the beginning of the closing cycle that it's kind of slamming. And sometimes if the installation of the latch bolt is not correct, it will slam right back open. I have found that all spring hinges gives you the concept of like a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. And when you've got a lot of spring hinges doing the job, you can share that job equally among more spring hinges so that you don't have to get it moving really fast through the closing cycle, but there's enough torque left in the spring at the end, what's called the latch part of the latch part of the closing cycle, to get it to comfortably close and then latch. And that's my experience regarding it. Plus also wind conditions, air pressure conditions that you might encounter. You might have the back door of a building, an apartment building, garden apartment, the back door gets open, someone's coming in the front, and they've got their door open, and it'll force it to slam. And the fact of the matter is, you're trying to adjust for that condition, but then a normal condition, and more spring hinges help you kind of mediate, the difference between those sorts of situations. Other than the link below this video to the template that we talked about earlier, there is also a link to the installation instructions. They are exactly as I went over before, and your hinge will typically ship in a box, and they are printed on the back of the box. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, they're linked here below this video, or below the video. And then the hinge, the certification of the hinge, important technical details that may and will most likely not be of relevance to you. Bommer LB4382 400-640 single acting spring hinge. The last thing I'd like to point out to you is the Bommer logo. If you can see that, kind of hard. Right above it, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer LB4382-400-640 single acting spring hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.